our keynote speaker on several occasions, and each time I walk away feeling pretty bad that I forgot something. I should have said this, or I should have said that, all the while trying to communicate in this short time just how lucky we all are to know him. Well, I've come to that conclusion that I just don't think it's possible to do something in an hour, let alone 2 to 3 minutes. So I just say this great state of ours, that would be Iowa, Eustis. This great state has been a state for 165 years now. In 165 years, in your lifetime, in your father's lifetime, your father's father's lifetime, there has been no better athlete or coach. Nobody comes close, and I do mean nobody. It's my honor to once again introduce the greatest athlete, the greatest coach, and in many ways, human being we will ever personally know, Dan Gable.
You know, there's a quote from Grams earlier about Russell pooping your pants. I just want to tell you how tough I am. 1966, first round of the World Championships, I pooped my pants. And I won that match. I remember it. He didn't know what went on. He got beat. I was a young kid, a freshman, just 2 months out of high school. And the rules were I had to make it all the way to the finals before he could wrestle back. He left and went home, like 200 miles. And then all of a sudden he found out I made the finals. I don't know whether he left and went 200 miles for what reason. I'm not sure. I don't think he really thought I was that good, but I know he didn't think I smelled very good. I should have told that. Anyway, for this area, you know, it's about time that wrestling really gets to support the area. I mean, we do a good job. We only have the most spectators come to our events by far, but we don't get to host much anymore. Back in the old days, when we first got started, getting good in wrestling. Gary Kurtelmeyer there, he was such a good promoter that the Big Ten Conference would host their championships at Iowa every other year. And the reason why is because this was the place to host it from a financial, economical point of view. The Big Ten was just starting to want to become the premier conference, and it's supposed to be like once every 10 years, and then 11 years, and then now it's going to be 12 years. Once every 12 years we get to host it, because that's the rule. But because of economics, they said if we go to Iowa, we'll be able to bring in and generate more money, and that will cause us to be a better sport. And so everybody went along with it until we really started dominating, and until a lot of the other Big Ten schools really started getting good and really started to want to be competitive and win. So right now it's once every 12 years. But at that time it was every other year for a while. And we used to host the NCAA championships here over a 3-day period, 4-day period, 5-day period. And that, we bring in 15, 16,000 people per session over a 4 or 5-day period. And it's very good for the economy. And we've outgrown that arena. We have to have it mostly at 18 or 20,000 or even more. Last year it was sold out at 21,000 or something like that. So we don't get to come here. It's about time we get to come back to this community. Besides just our 6 dual meets, which we do well, we hold up our end. But we actually get to bring people on campus in the city for 3 or 4 days and contribute. So it's really, it's a good thing that we have this type of opportunity because We just don't have it that often anymore. So I just want to thank everybody that's been involved with this whole process. I want to thank Les Stevens. I don't know if he's here today, but he's back there, and Josh, the mayor, Chris Brands. We flew to Colorado Springs and we won that bid, and it was a team effort, and there was a lot involved in it, and the bottom line, they just went on a reputation more than anything else. They didn't go on a lot of things that would actually win the bid outright. We were just too small of a community. But they went on a reputation knowing that for the good of the sport, for the effect, for 2012, for 2016, for 2020, that if this is the place that's going to help affect our sport, then we got to take it there. And so that was, I thought, was very good. We have some representatives here from USA Wrestling today, and that would be the only way we would have won the bid. And I think what we need to do now is think about why we won this bid and why we're going to have them walk away when they're done and realizing they made the best choice possible. And the bottom line is this. This community, I don't really know a whole lot about this community, and the reason why is because I'm a wrestler. I kicked a lot of butt. I'm a wrestling coach. We kicked a lot of butt. And even when I got done coaching, I'm still working for the sport. It's one of these things that, this community is unbelievable. But for me, I got in my car. I knew my way to Carver Hawkeye Arena. I stayed there all day, into the night. Then I came home. And I got up the next morning. And I went to Carver Hawkeye Arena. I didn't have to even know my way. My car knew the way. But I don't know where anything's at in this community. I don't know the names of any streets. And my wife, my daughters, they are the ones that know this community. They are the ones that love this community. I mean, Oklahoma State comes in. They throw me $3 million. You gonna fly home on the weekends? If I took the job. Because nobody was going with me. Iowa State has come 2 or 3 times. See you on the weekends. Or whenever you can make it back. I mean, they love me, but they didn't love me that much. They like this community more than they like me. And they told me that. So I didn't really have to make many decisions. So if I wanted to be by myself, rich, I would have been fine. No, I wouldn't have. So it was an easy decision. Every time something happened, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, the decision was made. And I could let the other people know it wasn't a drawn-out process. And so I don't know if you people really realize what you have going here. You could just strut around. You could strut around, put your top, your hat on, big belt, be like Texans. If you want to strut around, because they got all that oil, they got all the money. But you got everything here too in Iowa City. It's pretty amazing because, Ames may have somewhat, because I'm kind of a loyal guy, but they don't have what's here. I grew up in Waterloo, UNI area. They got a lot of things going for them too, and you guys are kind of not lucky, but you're privileged to have a great institution like those other places. But this is the bottom line, a great institution. And I know that because I'm an Iowa Stater a long time ago, for 6 years. And when I was in Ames, and even today when I call back just to try to get something accomplished, boy, they don't appreciate being kind of, for some reason, they just can't get over us. I can't get them to even change their mistakes in their press guides that they make all the time. They just don't want to listen. And they just try to do things over there, which, you know, and actually sometimes I make some progress. When I'm really nice and humble, and, you know, I get somebody on my side, but it doesn't last very long at all. So anyway, just got to realize what you got here. And we are really privileged and not lucky, but just privileged to have that. So anyway, the Olympic experience. Let's go back to when I competed in 1972. I'll just tell you one area about the 1972 Olympics. It's because I think this could be an experience you may not understand. We really didn't go in there with what people thought was going to be one of the best Olympic teams of all time for wrestling. But we ended up 3 golds, I think it's silver, 2 silvers and a bronze, or 1 silver and 2 bronze. But we ended up being one of the greatest Olympic teams of all time in 1972. But what we really did was this. We made a guy famous. And what it was we going in, not a great team. They said they won't make ABC Wide World of Sport that much. So we're going to put this announcer. We're going to put with wrestling this announcer that's really, it's his first time announcing. And so, you know, we don't want to put, we won't get much ink, we won't get much time, and so break this guy in. So all of a sudden, we're all going for the finals, we're up, you know, pushing the Russians, we're winning medals, and this guy gets airtime after airtime after airtime and airtime. And I didn't realize it either, because I got to know him later, and one time in a conversation sitting with him, he just said, you know what, that 72 team in wrestling is what made me be able to push onto the circuit. It gave me so much exposure. I had no exposure. I want to thank you guys, the 72 Olympic wrestling team, for all the ink and for me being able to move forth in my profession. The guy's name was Frank Gifford. And everybody knows Frank Gifford from one time or another for a long time. But, you know, he gave that 72 wrestling team a lot of credit. The Peterson brothers, Wayne Wells, Chris Taylor, Rick Sanders, Dan Gable. Those are the guys that all came forth out of that Olympic Games. So then in '84, I coached the '84 Olympic team, and I was we had several Hawkeyes on there, I think 4, I believe, 4. And you know what? There was a lot of adversity. Just to show you kind of the mental strength of what we hope to develop in our sport and in coaching and business. I just want you to know, the night before the '84 Olympics started in wrestling, I was in my hotel room, my wife was there, kids were there, and all of a sudden I noticed a envelope that had been shoved under the door. There had been some controversy about that team, and all of a sudden I opened up that letter, and the top man in USA Wrestling wrote me a scathing letter. And if I hadn't been raised in this sport, and if I hadn't been raised with a lot of people in my life, I probably could have withered right there. But instead, we had 5 days of competition coming up, and I had to be at my best, and my team had to be at their best. And I let that letter go. And we walked away from the '84 Olympic Games as the best team performance in the Olympic Games. Out of 10 weight classes, we had 7 golds and 2 silvers. And the whole thing was picked by the LA Times at that time, and they had us at the top of the list. And so, you know, there's going to be adversity in the next few months. I just want you to know. There's going to be some adversity, but you're going to be so strong, and you're going to be so prepared that you'll be able to handle that somewhere. Because again, you got to have this vision. And this vision for the future, which is April 21st and 22nd, has to be a vision of the greatest Olympic trials in the history of the sport. That's got to be the vision. To be able to affect the next World Championships, the next Olympic Games, the next World Championships, the next Olympic Games. To do something of that magnitude takes a lot of preparation, day in and day out, to the point where no matter what happens, you can be able to handle any type of adversity. So anyway, I'm excited, and I know, and I'm the kind of guy that people have always put a lot of pressure on me a little bit, just because of the amount of success that's been before me. But that's like that adversity that hit me. And so, Tom's here, Terry's supposed to be here, and I was going to hit Terry a little bit, because you know what? We need some local flavor. He already mentioned some of the local flavor back there. We need those guys. We need the other guys that are out there. We need, if we really want to do the best we can do, the people of the local state and community and communities are going to have to really want to be in that arena. And there's nothing like local flavor to really get them in that arena. And to make this event the best it can ever be, that we're going to have a table like that, plus some more guys that really step up to help get that draw. That draw from wherever the record is, we're going to set the record no matter what. It's just how high we can set it. And it's going to depend on a table like that. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure on those guys. But it does, when you need little reminders, or even Tom Brands, who's coaching the Hawkeyes, as he's coaching the Hawkeyes, and as they're doing good, and he needs to make, fine lines for him, it's going to be a part of the process. And his brother is really the guy that's probably more involved with USA Wrestling, more involved with the club, Terry. And so, he was supposed to be here, but anyway, he's the guy that, there's really a little bit of, not really pressure, but it's the ability to help you get up on a daily basis and be able to go to work and work hard at that vision down the line, because pretty soon that vision will be here and people will be ready to perform. But here's the other thing. It's not just about Iowa locals. It's about people across the state, because there's a lot of other people that you can jump on board with, that you go from the Hawkeyes to maybe there's a Panther, maybe there's a Cyclone, maybe there's somebody else. And you know what? That's a part of our state too. And you know what? This is bigger than Iowa. This is the United States of America. And to get on board with the biggest sporting event in the world that lasts premier a month, to be able to follow people that you actually were involved with, even the people that make this team that might not be from Iowa, that could be anywhere from the United States, you're going to have an association with them. And so all of a sudden, when you turn the TV on, or if you fly to London, you might get so hooked that you want to go to London. And so from that point of view, you got special viewing. I was in that audience when I saw that. And that's history, and that's close history, and that's very important. Easy to get involved with this project. Even though you might not understand all the rules, we're going to do some events to try to help you understand the rules, but it's wrestling. You throw somebody down, you put them on their back. It's pretty simple. Usually in a fight, you know who's winning, usually. You start watching this MMA, it's a little different. Sometimes the person at the bottom reaches up and chokes somebody or something. We have rules, we have safety. Even though you might not think so sometimes. Okay. I pretty much said it when this is an event for this town. I don't think we're going to get the Super Bowl here. I don't think so. But the Olympics are bigger than the Super Bowl. They really are. The Super Bowl is one event, 1 3-hour period. The Olympics, everybody watches in the world, and it's for a month. The wrestling's actually about a week long, and 3 styles. And speaking of, we know about the men's style, but speaking of the women's style, which is freestyle, we have that team here today. And they're not the Olympic team yet, but they're vying to make the Olympic team. But we have a leader that was a former Hawkeye, Terry Steiner. It's kind of funny because he's got a twin brother too, Troy. So he had in the lineup at one time for me, it was 2 sets of twins. They all came in the same weight, but somehow they found 4 weight classes. And it's pretty interesting that every weight they went, they dominated. They all won national championships. And in a way that was exciting. But anyway, we have women power here today. And I really I had to think about that for a little bit, because we're a little bit behind in this state on women power. I want you to know that. Not as far as just normal, but wrestling. All right? By that I mean, we got a long ways to grow with wrestling. Every state but one state wrestles male. In high school. Almost 300,000 wrestlers. But it's the fastest growing women's sport in high school. 206 years ago, it's at 7,000 right now. But at the same time, there's only 4 states that have girls against girls, women against women. And I think it should be gender against gender, that's my opinion. And the bottom line is that I was a little bit behind because the girls have to wrestle the boys here. For me, it wouldn't have been a problem. I mean, I respected the young man last year that made national news that actually forfeited the state tournament. But he realized, and he'd been raised, that what he thought was, you don't beat up a girl. But he didn't know if he was going to get beat up either. But I respect him, because that's his belief. But for me, no problem. I'll tell you why. I never look higher than shoes when I wrestle. I would not have known that I wrestled a female. And so I would have been able to wrestle the same way and been able to only realize that they had ASICS shoes on or Nikes or whatever they were. Hopefully ASICS. But that's what I would have known. I would have saw the ankles, saw the shoes. Hopefully I would have done the job, got done. I never really looked eye to eye. They would have raised my hand. I would still been looking at the shoes, walked off, never known. And somebody would have said, hey, what do you think about wrestling that girl? I wrestled the girl. That's kind of my attitude on it. But anyway, lastly, before we turn this back over to our last event here today, it's going to be a segue. Speaking of women power, I'm going to go to a press release from Coach Brands. It was press day here about 3 weeks ago, November 9th, 2011. Coach Brands on page 5. He says this, he says, our coaching staff goes deep. It goes to our secretary, it goes to Luke Eustace, Danny Song, our trainer, Fred Mims, he's his immediate boss. All of these people are involved. The secretary is Kim Klein, and she's at my home helping make the occasional meal that we get to make for our athletes. NCAA will occasional meal. She's right there with my wife and Terry's wife and Kurt Backus's wife and Luke Eustace's wife. So it's not just a job or showing up here. Then when you leave here, it's over. It's what you do, so it's gratifying. I can't imagine it being any other way. And I learned from the best. You think Gable was running the team? He wasn't. Kathy Gable was running. So we learn from the best, and that culture continues. So that's kind of my segue to the next event. Thank you.